Hi, and welcome to Epiphanies. I'm Reverend Jessie Brandon, and I'm a life cycle celebrant as well as an ordained metaphysical minister. And it's my opportunity to bring my two loves together, my love of books and my love of people. And so what I do is I have my guest that I interview pick a book, and today it happens to be Embers by Richard Wagamese, and my guest is Rosanne Irving. Just going to read you a little bit out of the book first, and then we'll have Rosanne on to talk about it. So grab a cup of tea and settle in, and let's see where this goes. In this carefully curated selection of meditations, Richard Wagamese found lessons in both the mundane and sublime as he mused on the universe, drawing inspiration from working in the bush, sawing and cutting and stacking wood for winter, as well as the smudge ceremony to bring him closer to Creator. Embers is perhaps Richard Wagamese's most personal volume. Honest, evocative, and articulate, he explored the various manifestations of stillness, harmony, trust, reverence, gratitude, and joy. Wagamese did not seek to be a teacher or guru, but these observations made along his own journey to become, as he says, a spiritual badass, make inspiring reading. Within these pages, readers will find hard-won and concrete wisdom. And on that note, let's invite Rosanne in and talk some more about the book. Hi, Rosanne.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
nice
super.
to be here.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Please have a seat and choose a cup of tea, and I'll tell the people who you are. So, as I said, this is Rosanne Irving, and she is a spiritual healer from the Interior Salish in BC. And I asked her to wear her full regalia so that you could see what she looks like in ceremony. Her full-time work is as an EA with the Simcoe County Board of Education, specifically at Regent Park In Orillia. But in her home life, her home time, she conducts sweat lodges, meditation circles, and hosts drumming circles on the land that she calls home. And believe me, it is wonderful land from the Creator. Rosanne, welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much.
Tell me about this book.
Well, I enjoy reading Richard Wagamese's books, and I received this book from a colleague of mine on the last day of school. Sorry, I get emotional just to think about this. I do a lot of my reading of Aboriginal authors, and this book here has very, very much touched me. There isn't one page that you don't open and it doesn't resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. I noticed in the front you have a list. Why the list?
Well, when I was going through it, I had all kinds of Post-its, and I thought, oh, that's not very neat to open this book and have all these Post-its. So I've had a list here, and I've got a couple here. I'll maybe read you some of the pages, and just to let you know how deeply they touch you. And the first one I have marked here is page 19 on the way in to the book. Richard's talking to an old woman, an elder, and he says, "What's the best way to learn to be spiritual?" The old woman says, "Pack light." "Me? What do you mean?" Old woman, "Carry only what you need for the journey. Don't tire yourself out with unnecessary stuff." Me, "Like what?" The old woman, "Like your head, like your talk. Spirituality isn't found in your head. It's found in your heart. It isn't found in big, important sounding words or long speeches. It's found in silence. If you travel with your heart and you're quiet, you'll find the way to spiritual."
That's beautiful. It's really lovely. So, have you been sharing this book with other people?
I've been purchasing it and giving it as gifts.
That's
And I do have a gift for you because I so want you to be able to enjoy.
Oh, this is so lovely. Thank you. I have my own copy of the book now. And smudge.
That's BC sage that I
BC
picked
sage.
while I was out in BC this summer from my homeland.
So you picked it yourself and
Yes.
dried it and everything.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I have a beautiful card, and I own the book. Yay! That's really wonderful. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I love it when people inscribe a book when they give you a gift. May you always walk in beauty and balance. Many blessings. Love, Rosanne. Thank you so much. So tell me some more about the book. How did the coworker know that this particular book was the one for you?
Lisa and I have worked very closely with Indigenous teachings at our school, and Lisa also leads in restorative justice, and I also take part in that. And who would have ever known? Like years ago, I was in a bookstore and I picked a book up that was called Return to the Teachings by Rupert Ross. And it was all about Aboriginal justice, and not realizing that I would get into that area. And I've been very fortunate to work with Lisa in our grade 3 class and do community circles with our children where they're able to sit down and just check in and share how their day is going. Helps us with having a little insight on how they are doing and how we can help them throughout their day. And so she just knew, she read this book and she just knew that this book would speak to me. And it is a treasured gift.
Well, yes, because when you brought it to me and I opened it to one of the pages, it was page 36, and it says, I've been considering the phrase all my relations for some time now. It's hugely important. It's our saving grace in the end. It points to the truth that we are all related, that we are all connected, and that we all belong to each other. The most important word is all. Not just those who look like me, sing like me, dance like me, speak like me, pray like me, or behave like me. All my relations. That means every person, just as it means every rock, mineral, blade of grass, and creature. We live because everything else does. If we were to choose collectively to live that teaching, the energy of our change of consciousness would heal each of us and heal the planet. And that's just so amazing. This is, Rosanne is who I did the Sweat Lodge with last week, and I was talking about it on another show. So it's really nice that you're here so quickly afterwards. And one of the things when you're speaking to Spirit, and you identify yourself, and then you speak, and then to signify that you're finished, you say thank you twice, or you say all my relations twice. And I love the sound of that, all my relations. It just is so inclusive. And yet, I have to say that I sometimes worry about saying it because I don't want to look as though I'm falling into the trend of all things Native these days. So can we talk about that for a minute? How does it feel to you to have me, a Caucasian, say to you, all my relations?
But we are all related. We're all equal. We're brothers and sisters. And not just us two-leggeds, but our winged ones, our four-leggeds, our standing ones, our crawlers, our swimmers. We're all related. Mm-hmm. So it's the only right thing to say, really, is to say all my relations.
Yeah, and I just love it. It makes me feel just so blessed. So you're talking about this book and how it was given to you, and what message do you have for your community that you take from this book?
Well, when I read this book, it just helps me check in with myself. I want to walk the red road in a good way. I want to be able to touch people who cross my path in a positive way, and to share that love, because that's where it all roots from, is that love, and just to help others check in with themselves and grow.
Yeah. Now, when you say check in with yourself, what does that mean to you?
Am I being the very best that I can be? Am I doing what my soul purpose is? Am I touching others in a good way? Am I sharing the love that I have within by just smiling, touching, having some eye contact, just being your authentic self of who you are to be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I thought you meant as well, that it's always nice to be able to explain to our viewers, you know, exactly what we mean by that, in case they want to find their walk through spirituality and
silence and trust. Trust is probably the hardest thing that we have to learn, is to trust. Once we begin to trust, everything comes easy. Mm-hmm. Love is just something that grows. When you love yourself completely, it just emanates off of you and touches others. I had an elder that shared with me many years ago. She said, and we just lost her in January, and she said the hardest road that we have to walk is maybe only about 12, 14 inches. And it's to get out of here and to get into here. Mm-hmm. So we need to work from our heart. Right. And that elder also shared with me that always work from your heart. And when you work from your heart and it's in a good place, there's never any wrong. So I share that with my students at school also. Mm-hmm. When you're working from your heart and it's in a good place, there isn't any wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very valuable teaching that I received from that elder.
Absolutely, yes. It's not an easy path, but it certainly is an honorable one, to be clear about who you are and where you're coming from, how you deal with other people. Mm-hmm. Well, Rosanne, I'm just going to take a break for a moment. We'll be right back with more from Rosanne Irving here on Epiphanies. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you. Welcome back to Epiphanies. I'm Reverend Jessie Brandon, and here with me today is Rosanne Irving. We're discussing the book Embers by Richard Wagamese, and it's just such a fabulous book. Rosanne, is there something else that you'd like to share from the book with us?
Well,
Need I ask?
There's so many pages in here. So Richard says, what is the purpose of ceremony? And the old woman says, to lead you to yourself. How? By giving you an idea of who you want to be and then allowing you to create the experience of being that way. Which ceremony is the best then? Choose what leads you to the highest vision you can have of yourself, and then choose what allows you to express that. What you express, you experience. What you experience, you are. How do I prepare? Breathe.
I love that. Just breathe. And isn't that the instruction that we tell ourselves all the time in moments of stress or, you know, tension, whatever? Just breathe. And then we find ourselves again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really wonderful because that's why I became a life cycle celebrant, because they talked about ceremony, the rituals and ceremonies that really impact us and cause us to connect with our true selves. So that's really exciting that it's in that book. I wanted to make mention that we have a picture down here on the front, and this is of Rosanne in ceremony. Now, would you please explain that picture to us?
I had been asked to smudge the grounds for the Relay for Life, and after smudging the grounds, I was honoring the survivors when they crossed that finish line, and I was standing with my eagle wing and honoring them with my smudge bowl. And so when I was going to my car, I had this young gentleman, Jake, and he touched me on the shoulder and he said, I have a picture of you. And so he said, there's some smoke and a bird in it, I think. And I said, really? And he goes, can I send it to you by email? And I said, yeah, by all means. So he sent it to me, and as soon as I opened that picture, I thought, oh my goodness, how symbolic. Because the very first thing that I saw in that picture was a dove, and that dove is symbolic to the cancer and breast cancer, and of hope and peace, and for it to show up in my smudge smoke as I was honoring those survivors that were crossing through. So it's my very favorite picture, actually.
Yes.
Because of the symbolic dove that is in my smudge.
Yeah,
So.
I just love it too. Every time I come to your home, I look for that picture. So that's why I asked you to bring it, because to me it's just so indicative of the spirituality that exists when you are creating ceremony and honoring people for their walk. It's just,
Thank you.
it's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So I want to know some more about some of the ceremonies that you've held on your land. Tell them about the front rock and how you discovered the quartz vein.
I live in Coldwater, and that Canadian Shield, and there's a huge rock that I've always been drawn to on the property, and there was moss and lichen growing on it, and I thought, oh, how wonderful would it be to power wash this all off and have it come to life. And I spent 4 days on the end of a power washer wand, 10 hours a day.
Wow.
And it was like Christmas, though, because every swipe I took, I was removing that black film that was on the rock and the lichen and the moss, and actually getting to see the movement that is in that rock. And it is just like liquid granite that has moved with probably the Ice Age. And then I got to another area of that huge rock, and it's orange, and I could see the quartz coming through. And it's actually as if you dropped a pebble into a calm pond, how you get that ripple effect. And it is a ripple of quartz, and then granite, and another ripple of quartz. But over on the other side of the property, there's another large rock, and I have a quartz vein, a pure quartz vein that runs, I don't know, maybe 15 feet, and it goes underneath sort of the driveway and comes up into that big rock at the front. And the energy that you feel when you stand on that rock. Mm-hmm. And so when I have groups, I always encourage them, go and walk the land and go and find the quartz and stand on the quartz and feel that energy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's exciting for me. I go and I walk on the rock. I'm very, very connected to my property, the land. I feel it's a very sacred place for me. Mm-hmm. So every morning I go for a walk on the land, and I face the sun, and I lay my tobacco, and I have my quiet time with my Creator. And yeah, I'm at home on my land.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can see it in your face now, and certainly having been there, I know that it really is just a wonderful blessing. I love to go out by the pond and then go over and stand on the quartz in my bare feet, because it's significantly different to the granite. Mm-hmm. And it's as though the quartz is, it was cold when we were there before, but the granite was warm, so it was really interesting. And it's very smooth, and the granite is very rough, of course. And so it's just, when you're walking on it in your bare feet, it's such a cornucopia of textures and feelings and even emotions that come up in you, to think that this has been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and how it was formed by, you know, glaciers and so forth. It's just, you are just so blessed to have the land that you do, and I love the story of how you found it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have you back another time for that story, because I want to make sure that I let my viewers know that if there is any questions that you have for either Rosanne or myself about the book or about anything that we've talked about, please email me at jessie@jessiebrandon.ca, and I'll address those questions in future shows, and we'll see what else we can teach you about the land and about embers with Richard Wagamese. And so I just want to say, I'd like to have one last question. And what I'd like to know, Rosanne, is what do you want your legacy to be in the world? When you've transitioned over, what do you hope to have left behind?
Love, kindness, caring. Just love one another. Mm-hmm. And embrace life.
Yeah.
Embrace life.
Okay, because I was going to say, people always say, well, just love one another, and everybody says, well, yeah, I try, but what exactly do you mean by love one another? Love, you know, start with loving yourself. How does one do that?
Before I end then, I have to share. I tell the students that I have a little homework exercise, and it's like, oh, here we go, homework. But it's very, very simple. It takes 10 seconds out of your day. Look into the mirror. Look into the eyes that are reflecting back at you and say, I love you. And I've always told the students that it's probably a much easier exercise to do than it is for their parents, and for them to invite their parents to do that. Mm-hmm. And no one needs to know that you're in the bathroom saying, I love you. Just stand there and look into those eyes that are reflecting back. Mm-hmm. And say, I love you, because that's where it all starts.
And what do the kids say after they've done it?
Well, I tell them I'm going to check in with them the next day, and they said that they feel good with themselves. So, and the more you do it, the easier it gets, and I tell them that. And pretty soon they'll be able to stand in the bathroom and yell it so that their neighbors can hear it.
Yeah,
So.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And do they ever tell you that they've taken it to their parents, and are their parents trying it, or what do their parents say?
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, you know, like I said, we've got to start somewhere, and as you say, that's one of the easiest and yet hardest things to do, because we all look in the mirror and, you know, brush our hair and,
Yeah,
you know, our
exactly.
teeth and so forth, but we're not looking in our eyes, and that's really where the soul lives, is in the eyes. And so I just want to thank you for that message and for your presence here today, Rosanne.
you.
It's always a blessing to see you,
Thank
and
you.
I'm just so grateful that you were able to come and be with us today. And thank you to my viewers. I hope that you have an opportunity to pick up a copy of Embers, or that somebody gives you one. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time on Epiphanies. Thank you so much.